Mark, yeah,
There we go.
Joyce.
Good morning. It's March 2nd, 2023. I'm Brett Schoenemeyer, Chair of the Public Library Building Committee meeting. We have guests in the room. We have important business to conduct. We want to do a thoughtful fashion, but we wanted to do it with dispatch because we have places to be and things to do, but this probably is the most important thing I have to do today. So with that, I'm going to ask Lisa to call the roll.
Mr. Schondermeyer.
Here.
Ms. Virgo. Here. Mr. Lazio.
Here.
Ms. Wyckoff.
Here.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Mr. Dees. We have a quorum.
Okay. You have an agenda in front of you. Somebody want to move approval of the agenda? So,
Second.
all right. Any discussion on the agenda? I'll call roll. Yeah.
All right.
Let me help you out. Does everybody agree on the agenda?
Hi.
Okay, all right. Anybody want to amend the agenda? Okay, these are the items that we will discuss today. We now have the minutes from our November 15th, 2022. It appears we've been a while since we've met, but you know, that's our last official meeting. People want to look over, excuse me, I jumped over, you know, I'm where I want to be. Anybody want to approve them? Make a motion to approve the amendments?
I move to approve.
Okay, Michael moves. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Hi.
All right, thanks, Michelle. And Michelle, you're able to see and hear? Check with you.
At the moment, I am.
Okay, all right. We're now down to visitors' comments. So we have some visitors. I will let them to introduce themselves, but I think this is probably a misnamed category on the business item because these are our financial partners. And they're not here as just visitors, they're here as investors in a proposed new Riverside library. So I always welcome them. I'm glad to be in their presence. And so the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kathy Rose, Mayor for the City of Riverside. And first of all,
Coming up here, Kathy, you might show up better on camera for those who happen to be online.
absolutely. So thank you for allowing us to be here for this meeting this morning. I'm telling you, it's very exciting that we have brought our project, the Riverside project, to this point. I'm very interested, as well as you all are, into our next steps and where we're going and the bids and everything it's going to require for us to move forward. And I'm just here this morning to provide support and consideration as we talk about this project this morning. I have brought with me Community Development Director Michael Duffy and City Administrator Brian Coral.
We welcome the Riverside administration to our library board meeting, and you're always welcome. And so does anybody else who is a visitor have a comment? Okay.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And as we discuss through the project, the guaranteed maximum price, I want to make sure that there's an opportunity as a financial partner in our transaction, something that you want to know about or would like to know about or want to raise or some sort of clarification, because the way this will work is that we will make a recommendation one way or the other, and it will go to the full board, and being able to surface questions or concerns or thoughts or ideas would be a helpful way to do it so that we can deal with this in a thoughtful and expeditious manner. So that said, we're going to move on to the Riverside branch. I think there's a presentation. I'm going to ask staff to give that presentation. I'm going to just make a few comments. Michelle, this is as much for your benefit as mine. I'm going to characterize this as a much discussed and long discussed project. And so, you know, there's some more. Joyce Lynn would agree. This is, to my view, the last major project that was on the Proposition L voter approved program that voters approved in November 2016. In reality, this discussion predated even that, discussion. And so looking at some material, this is a 7-year or 8-year, discussion that's sort of going on. And so what is different about the conversation today than other conversations we've had is we've gone out to the market. We've gone out to the market and we've got firm pricing on what it would cost to construct a new Riverside library in partnership with the city of Riverside. And so I don't know who wants to make the presentation, but at this point, I just turn it over to staff.
I defer to the expert in the room.
All right. Good morning. My name is Jake Wimmer. I'm the Director of Construction and Maintenance for Mid-Continent Public Library. And you have in front of you the Riverside Guaranteed Maximum Price presentation. Let's go to the next slide. Here we have a couple renderings of what the site is going to look like. On the left is the approach, kind of a nighttime approach, and then on the right is the view from the south side. We're going to have like a little bit of a patio so you can look out over the park and some of the green space. It's a pretty steep slope on that south side. It's not well represented here, but it is there. So it's going to be just a really nice library. One of the things I really like about, I'm kind of going off a little off tangent, but the library sits between the Riverside Park where their clock tower is, where you drive in, so you can walk through the park and then you'll walk through our parking lot and then you'll walk into the library. It's pretty cool. And then if you want to, you can walk through the library and then go out to the patio and then see the park in the background. It's going to be a really neat collaboration of space. We're really grateful for the ability to go forward and do this. So next slide. I kind of walked you through that to talk to this particular slide. It's hard to see, but thank you very much. It's hard to see, but the little red dot is where the branch is going to be located. And if you look at this particular site itself, what's really neat about it is, so first of all, this is where we're currently located, right here to the, if you look at the drawing, you go to the upper right, it's off of Vivian. We're located there right now. So we're not going to move very far. But what's really neat about this particular location is you can see the proximity. You've got that park that I described to the north here, and then the other park, the Brenner Park to the south. And then just across the street, you've got the municipal court, the city hall, the community center, the police department, the fire department. It's a really great location. There's a lot of really neat things going around. I think there could be some great synergy with the city. So we're really, again, really excited about the location and about what's going forward with this. So now that I've oriented you to that, please, let's go to the next slide. So as we talked about, the Riverside branch is a collaboration between the city of Riverside and Mid-Continent Public Library. The city basically gave us the land at a price of about $650,000. And then they bought our old branch for $1.35 million, $1,350,000. And then to help us out, they let us lease the library back at $1 a year so that we could continue to serve the public as we have done all along while we build the branch. And once we get the branch built, we'll move everything over to the branch as we open it up, and they will take over the property and do as they see fit. So it's a really neat agreement.
Take over the property. They currently own the property.
You're right. They currently own.
So
they won't take it over. I guess what I meant to say was they'll do whatever happens.
And I think their plan is to demolish and clear it and make it available for economic development.
I believe so. So thank you, Brent. Okay, so next slide. Here we see the actual dollar figure that we're talking about going forward. The guaranteed maximum price for construction is $6,941,385. Then what I went forward with is I kind of put an all in as to what this was going to look like for everybody around the table so that you could kind of see what we're looking at. With some minor other construction things, some third-party inspections, the different things that happen with construction and with our furnitures and fixtures and equipment supply, you're going to add another $472,815. And then with our IT, which is basically speakers, public address systems, the gates that we have in front so that we can make sure that the books are being checked out like they need to be, scan sites, different things like that. And also the design and some of the survey that we had to do prior for it is another $300,565. So all in, $7,714,765 to build this branch and to turn it over to the public once we get it built. But City of Riverside has given us back $2 million as the collaboration. So it's really from our pocket, it's really $5,714,765. I'll stop there. If there's any questions. Yes.
I do have a question. So is the cash outlay for the library the 7.7 or the 5.7?
Technically 5.7. Because
Okay, so technically means the amount of checks that are going to be written.
yes,
So we are or are not going to be paying 6.9 million for the GMP, 0.47 million for furniture and fixtures, and 0.3 million for technology. I mean, are we going to be paying for that?
so that's
That's kind of like a yes or no.
great question. So that's the total that we have right now. But the City of Riverside bought our property for $1,350,000. We have that money in the bank. And so I'm showing you that that's not money that we had to outlay to go forward with it. The land, from an accounting viewpoint, it's worth $650,000, but we didn't have to pay that either. We would have had to pay something for land if we were going to have to do a new building. So we didn't. So
Okay,
yes,
but the point is, from the accounts payable section or wherever it is in this building, checks of 7.7 million will be spent. Is that right?
Yes.
no.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they will. But we already have $1,350,000 in the bank, and we already have the property, the value in the bank. So I apologize. I didn't understand your question, but yes, Ron.
So okay, so okay, we're together.
Pause there. I would characterize it, we've had prepayment of some of the 7. The other thing that's different about this, and this represents new thinking about it all, usually we just looked at the top line, the guaranteed maximum price, and we didn't include the other figures, which were really a cost of occupancy. And so if you went back and looked at East Independence, it didn't have the construction, FF&E and all the other ones in there. So the motion today, as we get to it, will be around the guaranteed maximum price. But from a financial obligation, these are the bills that we can and can expect to pay.
So the in-kind and cash input to this branch is going to be the 7.7 from, you might say, from the taxpayers, and then a particular investment by the City of Riverside is another basically $2 million of value of cash and land.
The net cost from Mid-Continent taxpayers will be the 571,465.
It's going to be 7.7, and then Riverside is giving us 2 million.
Right, but
Okay. No, I think
Okay.
I think this is good because this focuses on the fact that I think, as far as I can recall, this is the first time we've had any community, any municipality decide we're going to put their skin in the game instead of just saying, build something for us. And unfortunately, this is the last community, but I think it set the example of what otherwise could have been just a sterling, brilliant example of collaboration between the library and the cities.
Yes.
Which I think they're fantastic.
agree, and which is why I think properly identified them as financial partners,
Absolutely.
in the transactions.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the other part, and this is just a reminder to all of us, that's a guaranteed maximum price. So our architect is in the room, our general contractor is in the room, and if it comes in at, for whatever reason, 6.8, we get the savings. So this is an upper financial maximum. That's why it's called a guaranteed maximum price. So we should not expect to spend more than that on the guaranteed maximum price. So we can, we're not going to go into, if it comes in at 7.2, we're not going to absorb the higher amount. That's the cap. Choice line.
And the other point I think that needs to be made is that guaranteed maximum price is based on the current plan.
Yes.
We can't go changing the plan and expecting that guaranteed maximum. I think that was a question somebody had before one of our prior meetings.
I mean, if I might add, so however, there could be a change in furniture costs.
Yeah,
It could float up or down, depending on how we program the space inside. Thank you, Jake.
Okay.
I think there's a couple more slides. And then-
There are. I just want to make sure that we, thanks for the question, Ron. And again,
I guess maybe I'm still confused.
Okay.
I still feel like we're still spending more than what we're planning because we're still, I don't know. I feel like we don't have a grasp. I mean, now we're breaking down the numbers better, but we're just spending and spending and spending and like, I don't know. I mean, clearly maybe I'm missing something, but I don't even understand really why the 650,000 is even on this sheet because we swapped the land. I guess I feel I don't know.
Michelle, my
I'm
response-
not comfortable with the 7.7 million. I'll just say that and I'll mute myself. I'm not at all.
Let me respond to the land. If we had to go buy it, that's what we would have to pay for cash for it. So it's the functional equivalent of cash. It's so,
Okay, but it really isn't. We're trying to. I get what we're trying to do, but it doesn't really even need to be here on this. I mean, but I still, I mean, am I the only one worried about how much money we're spending? I feel like I am. So that's it. I'm just going to go back to mute.
okay. We'll get through the other slides and then we'll just open up for general discussion. So,
okay. Next slide is a couple of bullet. Go ahead and go to there we go. I talk about the construction materials basically being increased thanks to COVID. We had supply chain issues. We've had materials, and while it's getting better and it's flattening out a little, it's still not gone away. And none of our subcontractors are giving us breaks, so to speak, because they are weary of different kind of things that are coming up as we're going forward. We did get, I felt like we got a really good price from as in comparison to the East Independence. I expected it to go up a little bit because of some escalation, but I was wrong about that. Escalation stayed flat. However, we did have some issues with the landfill itself, and so because of that, we took the mitigating circumstance and we took and supported the slab itself. So when we build our libraries, we build them on a slab of concrete. That's our first step, and then we build up. And with this particular slab, what we're going to do is we're going to put piers on it. We're going to support it so that there are no issues going forward with any kind of water or any kind of whatever the case may be. We have had this in the past on several of our branches where we built them and we didn't necessarily pier them up, and we had to go back after the fact and pier them to make sure that the building wouldn't shrink or list or do anything in that particular circumstance. Now, I don't know that I really explained that well, so I'm going to ask Jim, our general contractor, to maybe add a little bit of comment so that to make sure that I've covered that adequately.
So one of the things that we do, and I think this was mentioned early on, the library's had some foundational issues in the past. And one of the things we do as part of our standard operating procedures, we'll go out and do a quality review on the soils report. So the library hires somebody to go investigate the soils. They did that. We found something in there that we didn't like. And so we actually recommended to the library, so let's go do additional investigation. So we went out on site, dug a hole, went down as far as we could. And they're really what I would call is it's fill material, so not suitable to really put your foundation on. So then we went back and collaborated with the design team, and we came up with a solution to do rammed aggregate piers. So you've heard of cast in place piles before. This is a rammed aggregate pier. It's kind of between nothing and a cast in place pier. And so really what this does is it helps support the foundation and the slab to make sure that you don't have any settlement issues in the future.
What you have to remember is books are heavy. So we were already fortifying the slab as it is. The industry standard is 50 pounds per square foot, but I believe it's 150 that we typically.
150 per library.
So that's going to help as well, so that we're not going to have those issues. It's just going to help over the next 20 years or 30 years that we have this building. So with that, let's go to the next slide.
Jake, I had a quick question. As I recall, just across the street, we had significant foundational issues with our old building, which is why we were looking at some major work. So it's just 100 yards away, I guess. So it would make sense to fortify the foundation. So.
That is correct. And when we did the initial assessment of the existing branch, there were several factors that we were going to be able to possibly mitigate, but we weren't going to be able to completely make those go away. And one of them was the rainfall that comes, and because when it rains really hard, at times rain actually gets into our building. So that was one of the things we could work around, but we'd have to work around on neighbors' property to do it. So we'd have to get that permission, and so what we'd essentially be doing is upgrading the neighbor's property to mitigate the issues that we're currently having on the original branch. So thank you. So potential cost impact if we delay. I'm not going to go through the numbers. It's roughly about a 6% escalation for each year. Typically, when you do your standard escalations, it's about 4%, one per quarter. So that's been a standard since, gosh, I started doing this back in the 90s, and that's always been really a standard. You look at about 1% a quarter for any, it never goes down. Or let me think. It rarely goes down. If it goes down, there's usually a bigger problem that's affecting the economy. So that's what you're looking at with there. But the really big thing about why we want to go forward with this now rather than possibly move forward for different issues that we have is there is going to be a critical labor issue in Kansas City over the next couple of years in construction. We've got a lot of things on the table. We're finishing up the airport. There's a possibility of a $1 billion investment downtown for the Kansas City Royals for the ballpark. They're building a couple more hotels in the downtown area. But the bottom line is that there's a lot of work that's on the plate, and if we were to delay, it's a very real possibility that our not only our general contractor, but also our architect might not have the folks to be able to support the work. So to me, that's the bigger issue than the actual money itself. If we're going to delay it, I think it would really be a much bigger cost outlay. Next slide. Here's a quick comparison of the last three branches that we've done. They're all 12,500 square feet. The cost, the main issue with the cost is when you look at East Independence, you'll notice it's the least of the three of them. East Independence is going to have the least amount of site work that we're going to have to do. It's basically, and I'm sure that Jim would disagree with this phrasing, but it's almost ready to build. They're going to have to do very little scraping. They're going to have to do very little excavation to get the site where it needs to be. Whereas Grain Valley, we had to go in and clear trees. We had to make an entrance. We had to lay down gravel. We had to take dirt away. Same kind of thing with Riverside. Even though it looks like it's ready, we're going to have to tear up all the concrete that's already there. Then we're going to have to level that and bring some dirt in and go forward with it. So those are the things that are the main differences between the two. But I just kind of wanted to show you what we're looking at from a square footage and a cost example. And are there any questions? I think I've got one more slide. There it is. I'm gonna turn it back over to Aaron or Brent to discuss the motion.
I'll take it. So we can have a discussion. I'm hoping somebody might make a motion. And then we can entertain further discussion. The motion that's on the screen.
Yes, I'll move approval of the recommendation from the building committee to the full board to accept work package 16 Riverside for a total guaranteed maximum price of $6,941,385 to be paid from the capital projects fund, and approval authorizing staff to draft a notice to proceed.
Is there a second? A second. All right, we're now to the point for board discussion.
I had a point. I think it's important for a little bit of history. We talked a little bit of that from our negotiation with Riverside, but from this committee's history, from what I understand, when we first started, we wanted to make sure that the project on the last project to be undertaken was not shortchanged because of expenditure on other projects. And that's why we've carefully looked at everything. And I think that that's something that needs to happen. I mean, Riverside was one of the first communities that came and said, yes, we agree, we need a library. How can we get that done? And they've been graciously patient for 11 years to say that we'll proceed, you can proceed with your building plan, but don't forget about Riverside. And I think that they as a community are making a tremendous investment, more than any other community. And I think that it is a community in need of library services. So I would encourage us as we think about this to remember that just because it's the last project that we may be concerned about how much was spent on other committee, Riverside is one branch that we're looking at, who we've made promises to, and the community we've made promises to, and the city that we've made promises.
Any other questions or comments, Ron?
I had a question maybe for Mr. Duffy. As Jocelyn mentioned, this has been an effort over 11 years, and which well predates my time at these gatherings. But I'm your neighbors, and I remember 11 years ago, the really neat dynamic picture of Riverside right now was not 11 years ago. So when the discussions were at that time of what would be best for the library to provide to best serve the folks, including myself, I'm not in Riverside, but I use that branch, to best serve us folks. Clearly over the past 11 years, the needs and the service opportunities have changed. And I'm assuming that the trajectory of Riverside is that's going to be changing further in the right direction. So are you in contact, or to what extent are you in contact to ensure that what we're going to have is going to be not usable right now, but assuming the trend that it's still going to be a viable presence of the library?
Yeah, thank you very much. As Ron said, my name is Michael Duffy. I'm the Community Development Director for the city, and I've been there for almost 15 years. And when we first came to the library, we talked about expanding the existing building. We bought the old Quick Trip that was right in front of the building and talked about possibly expanding the library to provide some additional opportunities in that location. And that was the genesis of where we've come to now. And really, it came through saying, what does the library need? What best serves the library in our community? And so in that discussion, we got to the point where this new location would help the library in ways of better access for people, better visibility, the opportunity to increase the technology, which is what we're always looking at. The city also supports a program called Beyond the Bell, and that's a partnership we have with the school district. And the city pays for, because we have a lot of apartments with families that might be a little bit underprivileged, and they have students who need some additional instruction and opportunity to stay at grade level. The city pays for tutors. They come from the school district, and it's a program where they work with students. Right now, we do that in our council chambers a couple of times a month. We see this as a great opportunity to partner with the library, again, have the school district, the city, and the library, so that we can expose and let kids know about what opportunities are out there, and let them experience the wonders of what a library can do to open up their lives and enrich their lives and make them better students in the short term, but give them hope and opportunity for the long term. So that's one of the things that we've talked internally about. We've reached out to some of the library staff to start having this discussion as well, because we think then the library does become that lifelong learning opportunity within our community.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking along the lines of having something architecturally attractive, but does the stuff work for what your community needs and anticipates needing? So that as long as those discussions are really quite vibrant, dynamic, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we're always looking at. How do we make sure that it certainly serves our residents immediately, but also brings people into the community, and then gives an opportunity to tie into the health of our residents and other people by being connected with our trail system as well.
And I know the answer for this, but just ask it anyway. I used to make weekly pilgrimages to the old Quick Trip for gas and jewel pods. And I remember their tanks there. So we had phase one and everything, make sure it's all squeaky clean.
Yep. Yes, they were actually removed. We observed them removing those tanks, backfilled with clean gravel, and then they put new concrete down, which sounds like they're going to be taking right back out now as part of this project. But yes, any time now that a gas station moves out, they do have to remediate those tanks and remove them.
All right. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Ron, to follow up on your question, so Richie, Brian, and Jake and I have been talking about what life looks like inside of the branch. So a lot of these details are related more to the furniture and the IT budget. So as currently laid out, it's a wonderful branch, but we think some modifications can be made to kind of future-proof it for use. That I think be more in line with the needs of the community of Riverside.
I'm going to turn to the other committee members. Michael?
I just have a comment. I actually saw those tanks sitting on the ground. I was over there personally when that, and I wasn't even on the library board at the time, but I remember the tanks. So just an FYI.
Michelle, any other comments or questions that you might have at this point?
Nope.
Okay. Just a few comments on my part. I want to distinguish this project from East Independence. East Independence had additional cost of additional staff because it was a new service location, additional collection. In this case, we're just moving an existing staff and a collection across. In some ways, you appreciate people's patience. It somewhat echoes what Joycelyn had to say, is that the parties that started with this first, in some senses, are subject to the impact of construction inflation, at the end. And in some senses, if they were at an earlier point, they would not be sitting here at this price. Their price would have been a lower price. So to the party that came to us first and came to us with the most, that they are, in some senses, the costs are reflected in the construction. The other thing, this is, frankly, you got to dig back in your memory. There was a commitment, which I hope we can revisit or renew, that part of the development in Riverside is casino related, and there were TIFs and other sort of projects that were coming back off. I don't have those details in front of me, but there was a commitment that any future economic development that might occur is that the library would be held whole, so that we can anticipate new revenues coming back onto the from the community to financially support this project. I said that in a discombobulated way, but in some ways, the experience in some communities, they want us to go build a library for them, and then they want to tiff away our resources. So in this case is that there's a faithful and thoughtful partner there, is that they understand the impact, particularly given the fact that we are largely funded by, by property tax. We didn't present it today, but I think when we get to the full board, I think we should reshare the letter that Mayor Rose wrote, because it shares information about population and economic activity and growing, because in some senses it reflects a view of the community that if we're not familiar with the community, you might not fully sort of appreciate. So I think one other comment, if we approve this will go to the full board in March. The bids are good for 45 days, and not the proverbial clock is ticking. So in some senses, if we get into the March meeting, we need to vote whether we proceed with this project or not. Because if we can't sort of say, well, let's go back and talk about it some more, let's go get some additional information, because the bids will expire. And I look to the people in the industry in the field, you can't call them up and say, golly gee, can you give me another 60 days? Because the answer will be
Likely no.
okay. I thought that was the case, but I didn't want to venture forth into something I maybe know not enough about. Okay. All right. Ron?
No, I guess this is, Michael's in consecrated ministries ordained, but so in his area, I'm thinking, the first shall be last. And I'm thinking Riverside was the first one to put some real cash and skin in the game, and the first one that could demonstrate measurable patience. And then sadly, you're the last one to have what I think is absolutely due you. But I'm only 8% of this, but we've had some crunches discovered in the finances. And my thought would be like basic economics, the allocation of scarce resources. In this case, it's cash. You have to prioritize them. Just for myself, I think this would be number one priority. And if anything else to get squeezed, that's just tough. I mean, the contract was made. The other party of this contract, Riverside, has been patient beyond comprehension. And I think in terms of priorities, this is at least one of a dozen votes. This is a go.
Ron, thank you for that. Actually, that reminded me of something. We made the decision to proceed when we sold, when we entered the lease, and we became their occupant. So if we had reservations and concerns, that was the point really for us to kind of say, well, sorry about this. In some senses, I always view that as an engagement.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to follow through, but you have to have some real reason to say, we don't like you, or we're incompatible, or we're not good partners. And that's not been the experience in our relationships and discussions with the government and civic community in Riverside. So we've talked about this for years and years and years. And I think at this point, unless there's any further discussion, please call the roll.
Yeah, so see, now the talk is we come to some resolution, and that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Ms. Virgo,
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Lazio,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to be, okay.
Mr. Thies,
Sure.
Ms. Wykoff,
Yes.
That's a yes.
I'm gonna abstain.
Mr. Shonda Meyer.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
All right.
May I make a quick comment? Every time I go to the grocery store, I get really upset at the price of eggs. Eventually, the price of eggs will come down, that price will not. So it really is a decision whether we build it or not. And I think you said when we sold the property, we made a commitment to proceed. So that's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the commitment for that has been going on for 11 years. If it gets down to the point, for example, at any other new branch, we don't put in sod, we sprinkle $20 of grass seed, so be it. We're going to build this.
Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for the presence of our financial partners. You're free to hang around, but you may have other business that you need to, do. And we would invite you back to the full board meeting if your lives and schedules permit, because other parties on the board might not be as familiar with this project. And your presence is appreciated. So thank you.
And thank you for the consideration and the approval for this morning. I tell you, I'm overwhelmed by what is happening. Please, I understand the challenges. I understand the challenges of where you are at, but I've been elected as mayor for 17 years, and we have been through some very difficult times, even in the city of Riverside. And I have always been adamant that the promises that we have made to our community, we have kept. And something else may have got slid or whatever, but we always followed through with what we promised the people of our community. And I appreciate everything that you've done here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's nice meeting you both again.
Thank you for your comments there.
Thank you.
We have a few more items on the agenda. I don't think that they can or should take long. This was our primary, actually, we scheduled this meeting and such to have the benefit of the guaranteed maximum price because this was the thing that we did.
All right. So we have the Grain Valley lease that's up for renewal. And Jake, do you have eyes on that right now?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So two options are presented, and if you could read the option that we will be going forward with and explaining why, that would help me.
Yes, so we've got the opportunity to renew the lease through September 30th of this year at a rate of $3,706.50 a month, or we could convert it to a month-to-month lease. But that would be $5,559.75. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Had some water. Apologize.
You can take over if you want.
All right. And then we could vacate immediately, but we don't really have any, we don't have anywhere to take the branch. So those are the three branches. Those are the three choices.
And then in terms of, yesterday you shared with me some of your thoughts on,
Sorry.
I feel guilty asking questions.
Thank you.
But opening dates and soft opening and how that fits with the timeline. And if you care to share any of that with us.
The substantial completion date for the Grain Valley Library that we're building right now is approximately the middle of August of this year. So 8/14, 8/15. It typically takes us between 3 and 5 weeks to get the library up to where it needs to be so it can be open to the public. But we've done it quicker. It's never gone longer. And so that'll give us an adequate amount of time. It gives us that safety if we should have any smaller delays. But J.E. Dunn is aware of the date. They're aware that we need to be in the building, and they've committed to getting us where we need to be.
Is there a staff recommendation?
August 23 or August 24?
23.
23.
Is there a staff recommendation on the,
I
I
would
would extend the lease?
we do the first one, extend it through to 9/30 of 2023, and then we'll be out of the building by then.
Because that's more favorable and that covers when we think that we would be in the new building. Okay. So we want to, any discussion? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to extend through September 30th, 2020.
I'll second it.
All right.
And then I had a comment. I think, at first I was thinking, we could close the branch, vacate the property and then prepare to move in. But that's our summer reading program, and I am an adamant supporter of having the libraries available for the summer reading program, because that is going to help students and families the most. And I think the cost of doing so is minimal.
Any further discussion?
What's the executive's preference?
Oh, we're in agreement. It's the first option. If we can avoid an interruption of service in any way, that's my preference. So this gives us the flexibility.
You want to call the roll?
Sure. Ms. Virgo,
Yes.
Mr. Lazio,
Yes.
Mr. Thies, Ms. Wykoff,
Yes.
Mr. Shondelmeyer,
Yes.
having unanimous and it's approval.
Okay, thank you. Our next agenda item is just some quick updates on our two ongoing projects. So I turn it over to staff.
So the first one that you're going to see is North Oak, and wow, North Oak is really coming along. One of my favorite parts when I drive into the building to go and look at it is seeing this big open area in the front, this upper left picture. And it probably within another week or so, we're going to have all the glass in. And it's just going to be a fantastic site to have that completely enclosed so that they can finish up on the interior work. We're looking at an early summer date to be open to the public on this one. And so they're rapidly completing their work. You can see up in the upper right, they're showing all the metal and the masonry has been completed. And then that lower left picture there is another shot of all the metal work and the glass that's going in. And the look in the center right below where the words are is the masonry. It's really cool looking. It's a nice shade of gray, but it matches the area around it with the trees and everything. It's just going to be. I get really excited when I start driving into this and seeing the shape of the building and the things that are going on in it. So next slide is Green Valley. Green Valley's come a long way in a little bit of time, in my opinion. I mean, a couple months ago, I was showing you pictures of the landscape and saying there's going to be a slab here, and then we're going to do this. And now when you look at it, the building's up. We've got all the joists in. We've got the building up. We've got the structural steel where it needs to be. We basically encased the entire area, so they're ready to start working on the interior part. And they've already begun the actual framing of the different rooms and the community room and the collaboration rooms and everything on the inside. It seems to me like it's just every time I go out there, it looks not completely different, but it looks like, wow, this is more and more shaping up. So when we look at this building here, we can see why it's going to be finished, August 14th, 15th in that area, which is not that far away.
Thank you, Jake. Any questions on either project?
Jake, bless you. Jake, I had one. I recall from North Oak, there seemed to be a rather steep slope from the curb and gutter up to the parking area. And there are a lot of mature trees and shrubs and so forth, and the signage wasn't really that good. So in other words, when you're driving by North Oak and anticipating the traffic at North Oak and Berry, it'd be so easy to just drive past the library. We kind of cleaned out the visually that breaks up from the drivers to the library itself.
Yeah, we actually put it back on the property rather than being on the front towards the road. And you would have thought that wouldn't have done as much from the visibility, but it actually opens the visibility up because you've got that open space. And we have thinned out the trees. We haven't taken all of them out, but we've thinned them out. And the other thing is we're going to have a monument sign out there too that says library, so that we won't be able to miss it when you're driving down the
Must go.
So yes.
Yeah, comment just to Ron's point. I've been by there several times, and it's as Jake says, like, wow, now you can really notice that library. It's cool. It's really nice looking. And Ron was right. I mean, I had a business in Gladstone for 22 years, just south of that particular spot. And living there for 37 years, I drove by the library all the time, missed the entrance to it. You couldn't find it. It was ridiculous, just to put it in plain words, but now that's changed. And so go drive by it. It's going to be something else. Yeah.
One other quick comment. I want to compliment our architects and construction, because we were looking for an alternative site, a different location We were gonna go have to pay for land. We figured out what we needed to do to address water mitigation issues on the property, get the library at that location and enhance its visibility and its functionality. So in my mind, that's another example that I would mark up there with Colbert Road. You know, how do you, okay, we're here, how can we make being here work in a different way? So one of the, I should have maybe said
Probably
something.
more like Lee Summit,
Yeah.
that where we had the issues with the parking lot.
Yeah. So one of the advantages that I believe that we've had is we've had a group of people that have been working together with 5 years and 6 years. And so they know where money is best spent, how you can manage. They don't like it. Value engineering is a general term of art. We don't value engineer. We build for what's needed. But anyway, if we had different set of architects and contractors on each one of these work packages, I think we would be in a different situation than where we are. So it's a backhanded compliment. So anyway, Michelle, any questions, comments?
Nope.
Okay. Next item is the fire suppression system. Turn this over to staff.
Okay, so the fire suppression system in this building is over 20 years old. And we have gotten to the end of the life of the system, unfortunately. We have what the system does is it basically, you can see the little sprinkler heads and the over there, you can see the alarm in the area. The system speaks to all of those in this building, in the maintenance building, and in the warehouse. So it's the whole area. And what we have is we've got 7 panels that speak to all the different smoke detectors and everything to make sure everything's good. Those panels are on their last legs. In fact, one of them does not work correctly. As Susan would attest to, she gets a call from our security service. At one time it was daily.
Yeah, I was getting calls daily. Now it's about there. Depends on if they listen to me. If I tell them to put it on hold for a certain amount of time and they actually do that, I can get away with once a month. If they don't read the fine print, I'm getting calls about once a week. And it's usually, 9 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're here, so there is no real fire. It's just the panels are notifying them that they don't work.
And so we try to go forward and get new panels. Unfortunately, those panels are not only no longer made, that we were able to get one. It was a refurbished panel. It lasted less than 6 months, and there's no warranty because it's refurbished. So my concern is if we don't move on this, we're going to have an issue where the panels are going to get to the point where we would have to man the building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to make sure that it didn't burn down. And I'm not trying to say that to be extreme. That's just the reality. And so what we've done is we have gone out and put a bid out for a design firm to come in and do the total design, figure out what it's going to take, and then we'll come to you and say, this is what it's going to look like. This is what we think it's going to be, and we'll let the bids, and we'll go forward, and we'll get the folks to come back and tell us how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to be, and what the case may be. We got an initial quote of $164,000 to fix the system, but I wasn't happy with the quote because it was pretty open-ended, and it didn't really cover, in my opinion, everything that we really needed. They just kind of said, well, this is what we think it'll take. I even think in some cases, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just you said you reached out to a firm. How many people did you reach out to, just so you could?
We only, in that particular case, we reached out to the folks who have been servicing this system for at least as long since I've been here. It's only one person.
The number of people scoping the work now, or number of companies that we reached out to?
For the scope of the work, we have put a quote out. I've reached out personally to 2 companies. We also have it on our website, and Aaron Gordon, our facilities manager, has reached out to a couple companies as well. So we're hoping to get that scope part done so that we can at least tell you how much that's going to cost as we go forward. We need to do the scope because none of us at the library have the expertise to tell the vendors what it is that we need to get it fixed. And by doing the scope, while it's going to cost some money up front, in the long run, it's going to save us money because we're going to be able to put it out for bid and have some competition in the area and know exactly what needs to be done. Right now, we don't know exactly what needs to be done. We're counting on that vendor who gave us the $164,000 quote that they're going to come in and fix it like it needs to be fixed. So did I make that clear enough? I apologize. I jumped around a little bit.
You did. Just there's a distinction between the people who are scoping the work and then this larger number, which is an estimate as to what it'll take to do that work. So from a staff perspective, we need to know what's needed if we decide to move forward with making these repairs, and whether or not that sits within this year's budget or next is yet to be decided.
And this will come back to us. So
It will. Just keeping you up to date.
this was an effort to keep us apprised of an issue.
I just had a quick comment. I would hope that we can all agree that this needs to be addressed. If a fire suppression system, it's not just that we get annoying notices, it's not working. So if it's not working, if there is a fire, it may not suppress the fire. We don't know until there's a fire really in action. So this building is a hub of our library services. If this goes down, it goes down at every branch. So I would encourage us that this is not just a conversation about whether or not it's needed. I think it needs to be done. These are fire code issues. So the question is, how much will it cost? What will we do? And who will do it?
We do know that because the system is so old, they grandfathered us in to all of the codes. So we know we don't have enough, fire alarms and all of that kind of stuff in the system because we were grandfathered in. So this will bring us up to current code. So it's going to be a big number.
Thank you.
Unrelated
I
to
have a
this.
I have a
Go ahead,
comment.
Michelle. Sorry.
I'm kind of enjoying the hypocrisy of how we're going to do a scope on this, which is fine. And I agree with it. But then the same exact thing that we've done on other things, wanting to use a scope, define the scope of work and do all this, we have a problem with in other things. So I am getting a little, and I'm just sensing a pattern with everything in this meeting of a sense of fear and have to do this right now. We have to spend this money. We have to do this. We have to get control of our spending before we continue to going down the path that we're going. So that's just my comment, which clearly, yes, we do need a fire suppression system, but we got a lot going on. We've got to get a handle on.
General question, not related to the headquarters, but what's the nature of our fire suppression in our other buildings that we've touched?
Susan and Jake, can you help?
As needed, they've been upgraded. All of our new buildings obviously have brand new systems. I believe the Lee Summit one was the one that we did the biggest upgrade to, the branch itself.
I think predominantly, most of the branches have a new fire alarm system.
Jake,
Typically, when you do major construction work, you're required,
Bring it up.
the grandfathering goes out the door and you're required to bring it up to code, so.
Right. Jake, are we code compliant right now for Independence or whoever establishes or sets the codes for fire control?
Yes, I mean,
Okay. So I just want to make, I'm just trying to visualize what a fire suppression system is. We have to be hooked up to city water. We have to have some kind of control system to have the city water come in and distribute the water through the pipes or whatever. We have to have sprinkler systems that work and alarms. And I just want to make sure, in the tone of what Michelle's saying, that just because in a car, if we need new tires, we don't need a new car. We just got to replace the tires. So especially in light of half an hour ago, you were making commitments to, well, we're following through on promises that were made, and that's going to be a cost. So I'm hoping that when we look at things such as fire suppression system, we're using that example of changing tires as needed, not buying new cars.
I think that's a very good point. And I will tell you that we've internally have been talking about the fire suppression system since I started here at different points. So I understand what you're saying and I hear what you're saying. If this wasn't, and I don't like crying wolf. That's not what this is about. We're at the point where everything is obsolete. We can't replace sprinkler heads. If we do any work on it, we're going to have to put the new sprinkler head, the additional sprinkler heads in because of the new code as we go forward. That's the thing about whenever you remodel, you don't get grandfathered in on all the cases. You get grandfathered in on some of them. And this particular one is.
So they're contemplating remodeling that triggers the new fire system, other than the fact that some panels don't work?
I'm not.
Why did we let it get to this point? Why are we just hearing about it now when it's an emergency? Why didn't we? Why?
I guess you said when we're remodeling, I mean, what remodeling?
What I said was when you do a remodel, you have to remodel up to current code.
Of course, yeah, but
That's all I
I
said.
think that was in reference to the other.
It was a reference. It wasn't that we're doing a remodel or anything. We like Susan said, we're currently grandfathered, and so we're up to code, but we are not at the current code because of our system is so old. And to answer your question, Michelle, we have tried to patch it. We tried the refurbished panel because we don't want to spend the money if we don't have to, but we've come to the point where the panels are not working like they need to, and they're failing. So, and we can't get any new panels because they don't make them anymore. And you can't so what I thought was let's just put a new panel in. Let's just buy the newest panel. Well, the problem with that is the new panel won't talk to these systems because the way the system is designed. It gets more complicated, but that's the gist of what I've got on that too. If I could get away with not replacing it and it would be safe, then I would come to you and say that. We're just to the point now where we need to get it replaced.
We'll come back. There'll be more discussion about this sort of later. Nothing's decided here, and we will get, have to share this with our, when it comes back to the building committee, and then we'll get more detail about what might be involved and the costs involved, and we need to figure out how it fits into an already tight budget. And so this is information that we need to know and need to be aware of. So appreciate staff adding it to the agenda because it would not be on my list because I'm not the person that's getting called, every day. So anyway.
As long as the call is in the daytime and not the middle of the night, I'm okay.
Just to reiterate on that point, I mean, it was my decision to put it on the agenda because to Michelle's point, I want to share as much as possible moving forward. So we're not surprised by these large unbudgeted expenses.
Thank you for that. The other business is just an announcement, and if somebody wants to make it. Oh, all right, it's there on the screen. Groundbreaking for East Independence, and so hope people can, make that. And so,
Jim,
Yeah, so you can see March 31st, 9 a.m. The church that's down the street has been kind enough to allow us to park there. So it'll be a good event. We organized it around making sure some of our Independence City folks who've been at this meeting speaking passionately about the project will be able to be there. So we're hopeful everybody can join us.
and we'll share this again at the full board meeting, and you'll probably get an invite in the mail. So thanks for adding that. While it's not in here, I try to make a practice to run around and ask anybody if they have any additional comments or things that they want to share or issues that they want to raise that we can add to a subsequent agenda. So I'm going to start from left to right. Joycelyn.
I just want to thank Brent and also Michael. It's been a long road, but you guys have really helped us keep going and moving along to complete some of these projects. I think that you guys have really helped us to remember the communities that we serve. And I just want to say thank you.
Michelle, go online.
Nope, I'm good.
Ron? Michael?
Yeah, just, that's good to just be in the room together and bring everything to the table and talk about, put stuff on the table and let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. And so I'm just glad we're doing that. And so that's really great.
I'm going to kind of echo what Michael said. Some of us participated in the budget workshop. So you can have organizations as well. They're over here spending money without any consideration about how it is that, it might be paid for. And so getting the parties in the room in some ways can be, my hope is, our thought is that would be a more thoughtful, collaborative budgeting process that would result in a board approved budget that would go into effect July 1st. So that remains my hope. And that's what I'll try to endeavor to do on my part and encourage others to do the same. Any other comments or any questions, comments from staff or? Golly gee, we're 11:06. Not bad.
Not bad.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay,